What's up? Little guest cameo. So as everyone knows in Fortnite, the normal tier set for rarity goes common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary. But the sixth and more forgotten one is mythic. The mythic category is legendary's long lost cousin that no one ever really talks about. But today, we're gonna talk about mythic items, and we're actually going to be ranking every single mythic item from worst to best. Now, before we do get into it, make sure to subscribe to the channel or I will throw a mythic goldfish at you. Other than that though, let's get into it. And so coming in, ironically, at our number 13 spot, we've got the rarest item to ever be introduced into Fortnite, and it is the Mythic Goldfish. This is the one and only mythic item we've seen so far with Chapter 2, and despite being the rarest, is the worst. When fishing, players have a 1 in 1 million chance of finding this bad boy and basically, getting bragging rights, I guess. Now, when thrown at a player, it will actually do 200 damage if it lands, which is a big if. I mean, it's certainly doable to get a kill with this thing, but you've really got one chance, and if you miss that, well, it's going flying somewheres. Now, this item is truly more of a meme than an actual weapon, but it is mythic, and we had to put it on the list. Now, moving on to number 12, we've got Batarangs from the Season 10 Gotham update. These have got to be one of the most underlooked mythic weapons, as I really think it's not even good enough to be considered in this category. So Batarangs would spawn in stacks of 5 up to a total of 10 and do 50 damage when they were thrown and honed in on an enemy. Not only would they home towards players, but if they just landed on a structure, they would stay there like a trap. So overall, I mean, really good and I guess deserving of the mythic status, but of the mythic crew, it's definitely a pretty lackluster one. It's a hard category to compete in. If it was in legendary, it'd be at the top of the tier, but you're dealing with the mythic boys and it really doesn't come out too well. Now, moving on to our number 11 spot, we've got the Chitauri Jetpack. So this was the jetpack for the generic enemy in the Endgame LTM, and overall, good, not great. Now, overall as an item, jetpacks are pretty incredible, and this was even far superior than the normal one. It had unlimited use, and you could really gain a lot of height with this thing, but overall, I didn't love it. And in fact, I think there is a much better mythic mobility item than the Chitauri Jetpack. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Batman Grappler Gun, coming in at number 10. So this was the other mythic item introduced in Season 10, and I think it is deserving of the mythic status. By far the best pure mobility mythic item in the game, this thing could get you around the map. Not only did this thing have an incredible range for both crossing distances and also gaining high ground, it also would automatically make you redeploy, which would not only stop you from taking fall damage, but also give you a little bit of extra ground when covering distance. Now, moving on to our number 9 spot, we've got the Chitauri Energy Launcher. So this was sort of the secondary weapon for the Chitauri in the Endgame LTM, and definitely the more inferior. With a very slow charge, this thing would land 100 damage and really was only useful at destroying structures. And really, in my opinion, the only thing that truly stood out about this thing was the decently sized splash damage and the fact that it had unlimited ammo. Overall, though, one of the worst mythic weapons we've ever seen. Now, moving on to number 8, we've got the second mythic weapon that was ever introduced to Fortnite, and it is the Infinity Blade. An old classic that everyone truly hated. This thing only lasted in pubs for 4 days, but long enough to make its mark. The up-close attack would do 75 damage, and the far-away lunge would land for 25. This thing would give you a total health of 200 shield and HP, plus you would heal 1 health every second. And on top of that, every kill you got would restore an additional 50 points. You could also build with it, which was pretty monumental. And so for pubs, this thing was absolutely insane. But I mean, if you were to chuck this into the Avengers Endgame LTM, you'd probably get wrecked with it. Alternatively, if you wanted to take anything else from higher on this list and put it into pubs, well, they do a lot better too than the Infinity Blade. Overall, it's a classic, it's a staple of overpowered things in Fortnite, but certainly not the best mythic weapon. And actually, moving on to our number 7 spot, we've got the Mythic Ironman Repulsors from the Avengers Endgame LTM. Now, previously, I had actually ranked these things very, very high on my list, and you guys kind of talked some sense into me. The thing that's really good about these is they have auto aim, so you're pretty much never going to miss a shot, but they only do 45 damage. Now, on top of that, they do give you 300 and 300 health with no siphon, and really great mobility, so there's that too. But as far as an overall offensive weapon goes, I actually have been persuaded that these are the worst of the Avengers weapons. If you were to throw this into pubs, I don't even know if you would do as well with this than you would with the sword. So it really kind of depends on how you want to rank things. In a 1v1, I think Ironman Repulsors would come out over the Infinity Blade, but it's hard to say just going up against people in pubs. Again, it kind of comes down to how you want to rank them, but I would actually put these two fairly close. Now moving on to number 6, we've actually got the Mythic Shatori Laser Rifle. I would say that this is probably one of the most overlooked mythic weapons in Fortnite. With hit scan, this thing lands 75 damage per shot with a DPS of 337. If you're good with this thing, you would absolutely delete someone with an Infinity Blade. On top of that, throwing this thing into pubs would be downright mean. And so while it doesn't grant any other bonuses or anything like that, just its sheer power is enough to put it at number 6. Now moving on to our number 5 spot, we've got Hawkeyes Bow. So Hawkeye's Mythic Bow does 200 damage a shot, which really puts it up there. I mean, again, if we're looking at this on an even ground, this thing would demolish in pubs. Did you ever play Team Rumble with a boom bow? It would be like that, where you're just one-shotting everybody, but worse, because you're one-shotting people with 200 health at twice the speed. And on top of that, it also comes with the advantage of incredible mobility. On top of that, Hawkeyes Bow in a 1v1 would absolutely outclass the Infinity Blade and outrange Ironman Repulsors. Now moving on to our number 4 spot, we've got Captain America's Shield. So not only did this thing do 175 damage, it also had the ability to bounce off of nearby players, racking up another 175 to each. I mean, again, if we want to use the pub's gold standard, you would demolish with this thing. I mean, you could quite easily take out a fully kitted up squad with this. And actually, you probably could with a lot of these weapons. Infinity Blade, maybe. Ironman Repulsors, maybe. Captain America's Shield, absolutely. Now moving on to our number 3 spot, we've got what was the first ever added mythic weapon to Fortnite, and it is the Infinity War Infinity Gauntlet. So when this thing was first introduced, the stats got shuffled around a lot, so we're just going to take a look at the final stats only. So picking up an Infinity Gauntlet would grant the user to be Thanos and have 200 shield and 500 health. For every kill, shield only would be replenished back up to 200 as well. Close range punches and the long range ground pound both would do 100 damage, and the laser did 20. It was really good, but it's crazy to think that this may only be the 3rd best. Because coming in at number 2, we actually have Thor's Stormbreaker. So when you actually break it down, I think on paper anyways, this is the superior weapon. So while Thor Stormbreaker does not grant Siphon, you still get 300 and 300 health when picking up this weapon. So you do have 100 less health than Thanos, but everything else with this guy is better. You land 225 damage for an individual swing and 200 with a ranged jump. On top of that, you can also throw it, which usually does between 1 and 200 damage. Dude, Thor Stormbreaker is easily taking down Infinity War Thanos. It's like really not even a question. And if we're being honest, I think that there's an argument for even Captain America's Shield and maybe Hawkeye's Bow. It is crazy how we think of that Thanos being so absolutely overpowered, but we really have seen some better mythic weapons introduced since. But ladies and gentlemen, coming in at our number 1 spot, this is going to be the Endgame Infinity Gauntlet. The greatest that has ever been introduced, and probably the greatest that will ever be introduced. A full stone Infinity Gauntlet will destroy you. So this grants the user 2,000 shield and health. On top of that, per kill, you get an additional 300 shield. The laser does 300 damage with a DPS of like 8 million. Each punch does 600, and his aerial ground pound does 1,200. And also it can hit players from a square away. So then the question really isn't, could this Thanos take out a squad, but more like 3 squads. 1 squad, easy. 2 squads, I think so. And honestly, possibly maybe 3. Yeah, there's nothing quite like Endgame Thanos. And anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is our list. In past videos talking about specifically the Avengers weapons, I tried to listen to what you guys had to say and take in some of your ideas, and I hope that showed in this video. With that being said, if you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and if you aren't new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Or else there's a Mythic Goldfish on the way to get you right now. Okay, I already threw it. It's flying through the sky. All right, that's gonna wrap this thing up. Thank you guys again. I'll talk to you later. Peace out, you freaking nerds. up, Roman? This is ranking mythic items in Fortnite from worst to best.